Have Beyonce been here?
So long time ago, I'm crying because we want her
Come on,
so
Beyonce.
much.
Beyonce,
Come
you
on,
gotta come. You need to
Beyonce, please.
She was a black woman. Yeah, she was fighting for us. In 2018, in March, she got killed.
When most people think about Rio de Janeiro, they think about beautiful beaches, carnival, Christ the Redeemer, and some of the most famous views in the world. But there is another Rio, a Rio built by millions of Africans, a Rio where the sounds of Africa still echo through the music, the food, the faith, and the culture. A Rio where some of the darkest chapters of history helped create one of the most vibrant cities on earth. In this episode, we're going beyond the postcards and tourist attractions. We'll visit the former slave port where more Africans entered Brazil than any other country in the world. We'll uncover forgotten burial grounds hidden beneath modern cities. And we'll explore Little Africa, learn how Black Brazilians fought to preserve their culture, and discover why the story of Rio cannot be told without Africa. And along the way, we'll meet the people keeping that history alive today. I'm PA, and this is the Unfiltered World. Welcome to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Rio de Janeiro is one of the most recognizable cities in the world, and towering above it stands Christ the Redeemer, one of the most famous landmarks on the planet. Completed in 1931, the statue has become a symbol of Rio, and for many, a symbol of faith. Brazil was once a colony of Portugal, and with colonization came Catholicism, helping shape the country's spiritual identity for generations. Today, Christ stands with open arms overlooking the city, a powerful symbol of hope, welcome, and protection. From here, you can see the beaches, the mountains, and the neighborhoods that make Rio so unique. But as we soon discovered, Christianity is only part of Brazil's spiritual story.
What does this Christ Redeemer mean to the culture, the people?
A lot. Well, we can start talking about the Christianity. Yeah, remembering that Brazil was once colony from Portugal, and the Portuguese, being Catholic in the beginning, in the first centuries, it was mandatory that every person, even the indigenous or Africans, would be turning and also Catholic. And yes, the majority of the country are Catholic. So this is a big meaning. This is have a huge meaning. Yeah, it's a celebration of 100 years of independence. Yeah, first reason why they gonna make the Christ, but it's a continuous of this spirituality that makes Brazil, yeah, being the mix of so many kinds. It's a welcome now. So when you look to Christ and see him with open arms, yeah, which direction he is facing? Well, the direction of the entrance of our city. Because I was telling earlier that to the airport, the port is all inside the bay. And where exactly start the bay? Just here. Can you see this mountain? That is the Sugarloaf. We're gonna be there this afternoon. So
wow.
from
I
Sugarloaf.
thought they was the same.
Oh.
I didn't know that's another place.
A totally different place.
Wow.
So that's why makes sense now.
Yeah.
Now I was saying to you that we're gonna see later.
Yeah.
So there,
That's the sugar.
that's the cable car take the people.
Oh.
For many visitors, Brazil's spiritual story begins and ends with Christ the Redeemer. But throughout the country, another religious figures hold a special place in the hearts of millions. She is known as Nossa Senhora Aparecida, the patron saint of Brazil. According to tradition, fishermen struggling to catch fish pulled a small statue of the Virgin Mary from the water. After finding the statue, their net suddenly filled with fish, and many believe they had witnessed a miracle. What makes this story unique is that the statue is a black Madonna. For generations, Brazilians have come to her seeking hope, protection, and guidance. In a country shaped by indigenous, European, and African influences, the Black Madonna stands as a powerful reminder that faith can take many forms and that the spiritual story of Brazil is far more diverse than many people realize. And as our journey through Rio continues, we will discover that African influence can be found not only in Brazil's culture, but also in its faith.
Here is the name of the chapel, Capella Chapel, Nossa Senhora Aparecida. Nossa Senhora is something like show it up. The history is that, well, this black saint, Nossa Senhora Aparecida, is the patron of our country, is the saint protector of the country. The legend, the history behind it says that she was found, the image of the saint was found by the fishers after days without fishing or anything. So one day they fished literally the image of the saint, and next day comes back the fish. So believing that was a miracle, yeah, that will become the lady of our show it up, yeah, and it's a Black Madonna.
Our next stop was Sugarloaf Mountain, one of Rio's most famous landmarks. Rising high above Guanabara Bay, the mountain gets its name from the molds once used to shape sugar during Brazil's colonial era. The molds resemble the shape of the mountain itself. The views from here are spectacular, but the story behind the name reminds us that sugar helped build colonial Brazil, and much of that wealth was created through the labor of enslaved Africans. As beautiful as this place is, it also connects us to a much deeper history, one that we will soon discover just a few miles away.
So that one is the sugar, that found just Sugarloaf gave the name because when they were making the sugar, remember that I told you that had the plantation of sugar, right?
Right.
So before starting the sugar, they prepared the sugar. So the shape of the form that they put of the sugar had the same shape as that mountain. So that's why they call it Sugarloaf.
Sugarloaf.
Yeah. So some brands sometimes make space for kid or things like that. Now I need to tell you this. There is you see the green area block and then block it here. They are preparing to do a zip line.
Oh,
So the zip line would come.
I know you're gonna do that. You're gonna be first in line.
I am one of them, yes. Oh, for sure.
Today, much of this area is reclaimed land, and unless someone told you the history, you will never know what once stood here. But in the early 1800s, this was one of Brazil's main slave ports. Nearly 1 million Africans entered Brazil through this port alone, making it one of the most significant sites in the African diaspora. Standing here, it's hard to imagine the lives that passed through these waters. But despite unimaginable hardship, Africans and their descendants preserve traditions, beliefs, and culture that continue to shape Brazil today. In just a short walk from here, we would uncover another chapter of that story.
And they started the excavation. Guess what they found? Rediscovering the history.
This discovered what?
Discovering the object, discovering the black history, the things that used to happen in this port. What used to happen in this port? 1811, they opened this port to make here the main entrance for the black ships. So Africans brought to be enslaved in this city, it stopped the ships right here.
Wow.
So we're gonna have until 1831, this being one of the main interests of our countries.
Wow.
And let's get to the numbers. Numbers says that 1 million Africans got inside
this port.
to this port. Yes.
Were there any other ports in Brazil?
Of course, we had many other ports in Brazil. Many
But this
others.
one got 1 million.
This
And I'm
one.
sure there's a lot more in other places.
Of course.
Salvador.
Let's get to the numbers of Brazil. So the archaeologist says nowadays that in Brazil arrived here 5.8 million.
Wow.
1 million here, 5.8 in the country.
Wow.
And you know what is the number in Americas? I mean,
It
both.
varies, though. You know, it varies. So I don't.
Of course, that's true. But North, Central, and South together. Nowadays, these numbers can change anytime.
Right.
But 12.5 million Africans got in Americas. And I'm talking about the ones who arrived alive, not
Yeah.
how many of them got from outside from Africa.
So more
because-
slaves came here.
Yes. Our country is the
I
country
believe you.
who most received the Africans in the
I
world.
believe you. And maybe that's why the culture survived, because there were so many of y'all.
That and another reason, we were the last, right?
Your last,
To end.
1888.
So we say it more time, more centuries. Yeah, it
But
was.
I think we got more. It seems like the equality thing should be closing that gap a little bit more when we have so many more. There's so many of y'all. You guys are deep. You know, this is a black country.
This is a black country. Yeah.
Yeah, in
This
South
is-
America that embraces African spirituality,
Yeah.
but still facing the most equality
Yeah.
of any country I've been to in this side of the world.
Yes.
Ah,
We are in a moment. I think not just processing, but we are.
but you
getting-
guys are still fighting, though, right? You're still fighting.
We are still fighting. We're gonna keep the fighting because at the same time that we have more and more people talking about the true history, we still have more and more people telling us that we should not be talking about it.
Should not
Yeah.
be talking about it.
Yeah.
Are any blacks saying you should not be talking about it?
Are any black what?
Any black people saying no, don't talk about it?
I have, but I'm not giving attention to these ones.
Okay.
Because you know what? One of the things that we say is that one thing is a white person trying to stop you, another is a black person. Why? Because probably that black person is just like still with the mind of slave. Is still in the mind of reproducing the races,
Right.
reproducing a thing that you should be doing. We all. That's the intention. The intention of every black person don't talk about it. So if you have one not telling you not to do it, you understand that this person, well, it's because you don't understand what I'm trying to tell you.
Right.
It's not because you are them, yeah.
Right.
Because you're not gonna receive the joyful for doing that. You're not gonna receive anything of doing that. You still will be a black person. You're still gonna be treated as a black person, yeah. Any part of the world happens it. It happens here in America. It happens here any part of the world. It's not different from
The
anyone.
burial site that we just left, that's only a few blocks away then, right?
Yes, you understood how close we are.
So they carried the body.
We can literally walk 10 minutes and be back there. Just go
Yeah.
inside here.
The dead bodies would come here and they probably walked them over there.
Yeah.
Huh.
So
Wow.
here, arrive.
And no
just in-
apology.
History has a way of revealing itself when you least expect it. In 1996, a family renovating an old house in Rio discovered human remains beneath the floor. Archaeologists later confirmed they were the remains of Africans who survived the Middle Passage but died shortly after arriving in Brazil. What appeared to be an ordinary home was actually part of a forgotten burial ground, a powerful reminder that the legacy of slavery is never as far away as we think.
Used to be a house, but ended like an institute. So please come with me. I'm gonna start showing the picture of the owners of the house. In 1996, that couple, they bought that place, this house here, you see the street, they bought to make the living place with the family, just a normal one. But what happened in this place? Since this was an old house, 1996, they bought the house was old, so let's repair, let's reform, okay. But guess what they saw first? They will open place and they start to see what we see together here. If you look to that archaeological window, bones!
Ooh.
Yes, bones. But then think about this. You bought an old house, you find bones. What would you think? You think
Burial site.
maybe animal buried here by the last owner, or what else? A crime happened here. Call the police.
Then the police start the investigation. But then you don't easily find DNA by these bones. Why not? Because this one incinerated, got burned. So what we do, we start to have archaeologists coming and digging up and taking out from here some of the bones. So take a look at that picture here, that picture there, that other one. All this was removed from this house, from these floors here. So until 2005, we are in 2026, right? So 2005, they finally can confirm that the bones, the esquelette found here were from Africans.
Huh.
But why
So
here?
those are bones down there. I see skulls.
Yes. Who were that Africans? Why they got burned and buried in this space? That space was once the burial space for the ones who arrived in this land and did not survive.
Really?
So, really.
Oh.
Take a look at this. Take a look at this. These images are from how they got brought inside the ships.
Right.
How could the one human being survive in this condition?
Yeah.
So you can imagine that when they arrive, weeks in this condition, they
3
will
months, 90 days. Yeah.
they were fragile. They had disease in their bodies. Yeah. So with that information, there are a lot of them died in the coming, so the bodies will be thrown in the sea, but are also the ones who arrive in the land and will not be survivable to be enough to sell them to be enslaved.
Right.
They will be thrown this place here. So the area, the site all around us was a cemetery.
Wow.
And the cover, right?
So this was a plantation? Auction place?
No, we are really close, even if you don't see it yet.
Close
we
to
are
the
really
water?
Close to the water, yes.
Oh.
We are close to the water.
How close?
Really close, close enough to be walking there.
Really?
Really.
Wow.
So the ships that come here and the space that they're gonna do this is gonna be around us. So for some decades we didn't knew about it.
Wow.
So that's why I'm talking to you. So imagine you buy a house and then you discover that your house was that graveyard.
Did they sell it?
No, they're still here. Actually, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have that space to talk.
Oh.
These are their
They
house.
kept it.
They keep it and they open for us to come and see with our eyes. Because just look outside of the street. Take a look of something here. Look how close we are. How close we are from the floor outside and here. And nobody's studying. Nothing is studying that this space here
Right.
has with this. Do you think that only here in this small space have this? No, probably it's all
Oh, the
around.
whole block.
All block or more.
So we standing on ancestral grounds.
Yeah.
The burial ground reminded us of a painful chapter in Brazil's history, but it also raises an important question. What happened to the people who survived? To find that answer, we traveled to a place known as Little Africa, a neighborhood where African culture not only survived, but helped shape the identity of Rio de Janeiro itself.
Let me show you the same here. Heitor dos Prazeres. Heitor dos Prazeres was a black man. He lived around that time here, 1898 until 1966. And he was a composer, a singer, a painter here in Rio de Janeiro. He was actually the person who coined the term Little Africa. So we are in a neighborhood, yeah, but around us there are more neighborhoods. It will be in this moment here, early 20th century, when these will be known as the black area, black neighborhoods, right?
Okay.
So having the presence of so many black people, Afro-Brazilian people around the area, what he as an artist saw, he saw the African culture. He connected this with the motherland. So it's not a replica, like yeah, was not on purpose. Was something that we are in the diaspora. We are seeing in ourselves our origins, our true origins.
So that what's gonna give the name of Little Africa around the area here, the region itself.
Good.
Okay, so that's why I was showing the name of this person.
As we walk through Little Africa, reminders of the past were everywhere. But this artwork wasn't just about history. It was a statement about the present and a reminder that the fight against racism and the celebration of black culture continues in Brazil today.
I gotta ask you, I like this.
You know what?
I don't speak Portuguese, but I see something about anti-racist.
You're totally right. And you see another word that's fine, or is it easy?
For the culture.
Yes, for culture, anti-racist.
Wow. I love it. Who's the artist? His name's covered up.
I don't see the
This is
name.
good.
Sometimes you know the names. but-
Yeah, and then I see Sankofa. We're in the heart of it. Yes.
We are.
The story of Little Africa isn't just about survival. It's about the people who fought to preserve black culture, history, and identity. Few individuals played a bigger role in that struggle than Abdias Nascimento.
Let me show you the man. That
Okay.
Dias Nascimento, intellectual activist. He was one of the leaders of bringing back the black culture and democracy, yes, liberty, yes, but around that time when we are talking about 60s and 70s, being a black person in Brazil was not that easy. So what this represents, fighting for civil rights, fighting for rights, fighting for culture, fighting for space. So culture center as a black people to have and reproduce and interpretate and having your own culture be more freedom. And why I'm talking about this, because when you just went to a museum, normal museum,
Right.
there is no white museum speaking in the name, but you probably would never seen a black artist
Right.
or actress
Right.
or even things like this. So if we are not allowed to be there, let's make our own. This makes a lot of sense, right?
Exactly.
But if I told you that even doing your own, the government didn't like the idea. We're gonna talk about this.
Yeah.
Just a moment. Mukabe. Now it's the new name since 2017. We're gonna have the letters here. So when you pick up MU means museum, H for history, C culture, AB Afro-Brazilian. So in Portuguese, in English sometimes it's the reverse. So the history, culture, Afro-Brazilian museum, we have it here.
Brazil is often celebrated as one of the most diverse countries in the world. But beneath that diversity lies a complicated conversation about race, identity, and opportunity, one that many Brazilians are still gripping with today.
There is one thing that people don't, it's really important. One thing is you today with me, I'm talking to you doing this tour, but it's not to tell you that if you go outside and talk to anybody here, everybody knows about this. The thing that I'm showing you is that our country was whitewashing, brainwashing.
Yeah.
So making everybody believe that yes, we should be lighting and until our next generation will be white.
Right.
This was made for that. If gave my opportunity, for example, my family, I heard that my grandfather told their kids to marry white people so they could, be treated better later. That's a thing that.
Wow.
I don't think that my grandfather was a bad man, but it's something that he believed in.
We believe it, yeah.
So that's why we now are trying to reverse this. Let's be proud of what we are, depending of what color comes next generation.
Right.
Yeah. So the myth of racial democracy comes that around that time of the decades of 30s, when also a government said allowed for all that. Well, in 100 years there will be no longer black people in this country.
Wow.
And he was not right, because nowadays black people in Brazil are 56%.
Okay.
It's considered 56%. So the majority of us, we are considered black. Recognized as black. So.
But race in Brazil isn't just about how you see yourself. It's about how society sees you.
this. Let's talk about this. So one of the things about different cultures, United States and Brazil. United States has the message about one drop of blood,
You're black.
you're black. But Brazil don't have that idea, that message. Why not? So looking, for example, this, we have here the grandma, ugly, dark skin, then her daughter, light skin, and then he gave birth to a baby that, you see, the man is white man, and the baby, which color is the baby? Well, it's not saying it's white or black, but it's lighter. This baby here, if a girl doesn't have a futures of a white man, how it's going to be treated by the society? Not how, like a black man.
Oh, right.
Right? Because it's not about your mom, it's how you be seen by yours around you.
Right.
So that idea, that message doesn't work for us. One drop of blood make you black. Oh, maybe you can actually be white.
So that baby will be raised as being white?
Yes.
Would it identify as black roots
How
later in life?
There is no thing like, well, I'm telling you what you are. It's more like the society has so much problems to identify themselves that have issues even nowadays. Of course we can see, because how we can see? Have you walked inside a shop, a store, and for example, security came after you? Or you're driving a car and the police stop you? Or your life tells you what you are. No, I'm not lying. It's not about what you think about yourself. It's where you are,
So he's going to be treated better.
That's it.
But when it comes to power and representation, the numbers tell their own story.
Question: have you had any Afro-Brazilians on your Supreme Court, on your high court, the highest court?
In court, like in
Judges.
Okay, now we're starting to have, but it's one or two.
Just one or two?
Yes, this is really.
What about in Rio de Janeiro? Any black judges? Huh?
No.
None?
They are more in Brasilia. Brasilia is the capital for the...
In Brasilia.
Yes.
But so if I commit a crime and I go in front of a judge here in Rio, most likely it's going to be a white judge.
Yes.
No black judges.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
What about police supervisors?
Okay, you're gonna see a lot of black police. You're gonna see a lot of that, but the highest command, white. Yeah, but the police are black because they are the one being killed too. Right?
Yeah, they on the ground. They're doing all the work.
Earlier in Salvador, we heard a similar perspective about representation and political power. It was a conversation that helped put Rio's story into a broader Brazilian context.
It's not. So the president is not black.
For example, you don't have we can't elect a black governor.
You can't?
No, you cannot.
Why?
Due to
Is it against the law?
not because against the law, because you don't have much financial power.
Oh.
We are the majority in quantity, but not in quality, as in the United States. In the United States, you are just 11%, about 11%, if I'm not wrong. But you have much political power than us here to decide our destiny.
Oh wow.
So it depends on whites
So you don't have
to do something to defend our interests, to defend our rights.
So you're majority black, but black people can't be in government.
Because we don't have much political or financial
A lot of people hate
resource.
when
For some Afro-Brazilians, the struggle for representation comes with real risks. One of the most powerful examples is the story of Marielle Franco.
In 2016, I voted her. She was a black woman. She came from favela. She was there. She was fighting for us. She got elected, and 2 years, in 2018, in March, she got killed.
I heard about it. She was running for office.
Yes, she was in the car with our driver. It was daylight, and they shot many guns on her car.
No visit to Black Rio will be complete without experiencing its food. Our next stop was Dida's restaurant, one of the most popular black-owned restaurants in Rio de Janeiro. Known for its Afro-Brazilian cuisine and deep connection to African heritage, Dida's has become more than a restaurant. It's a gathering place where culture, history, and community come together. How do you feel? How do you feel about your restaurant being the leader for the Afro-Brazilian community?
Como você se sente com o seu restaurante sendo uma das lideranças dessa africanidade, dessa nossa comunidade afro-brasileira? Como se sente sendo uma das lideranças?
Eu me sinto muito feliz porque eu consegui atingir.
She feels really happy that she
Tô quase
achieved,
atingindo, né?
almost achieved,
Um sonho,
a dream.
tá? Que é com que os brasileiros conheçam um pouco mais da nossa
That the
África.
Brazilians can know and have more knowledge about the Africa, the Rio of Africa. So she almost achieving that moment of people from Brazil getting to know more about Africa.
Que eu achei o maior elo que a gente poderia, que eu vi que eu poderia alcançar, seria através da gastronomia.
So she believes that this was her way to connect by the gastronomy, Brazilians with Africans. So she's really happy with that dream coming true.
Well, where do your passion come from?
Da onde vem a sua paixão para esse sonho?
Meu pai.
Her father.
Meu pai sempre me falou muito sobre a África.
Her father always
Falava
told
daquele
her about
falecido.
the Africa, so her father always keep talking, but he's already dead.
Só que não falava muito de escravizados. Falava mais sobre uma África com reis e rainhas.
His father did something really incredible. She would not speak about the Africans as being enslaved. He would always talk to her about how they were kings and queens, and so that's why she was so inspired.
Wow. Ask her, what can she say to Black Americans, Africans who haven't been here?
Bom, ele está perguntando o que você acha dos pretos americanos, né? But the Afro-Americans that have been, or
Yeah, they haven't been here. They haven't been to Brazil.
Daqueles que ainda não estiveram aqui, então você tem algo que você pensa?
Eu acho que devem vir aqui ao Brasil para conhecer. Existe muita diferença entre o negro americano e o afro-americano e o afro-brasileiro. E quando eles vêm aqui, a gente tem a oportunidade de conhecer negros do primeiro mundo.
So, ok.
Eu acho.
Maravilhosa. She says that she believes that they must come. The Afro-Americans must come here to have opportunity to see, because she believes that we have some difference, and giving the opportunity to show not just them but also show us the opportunity to have this connection. And she uses a word like first world, yeah, this idea of Afro-American being coming from the first world, the first being in a higher place than other black people from Brazil. That's why I'm excited.
The influence of Africa and Brazil can be found in many places, from the food on the table to the traditions passed down through generations. Perhaps no cultural contribution has had a greater impact on Brazil than Samba. Born in Afro-Brazilian communities and influenced by rhythms brought from Africa, Samba emerged as a form of cultural expression, resilience, and identity. Today, it is recognized around the world as the soundtrack of Brazil, but its roots tell a much deeper story.
So the main genre and the song, the dance that make Brazil famous is the samba. Brazil have a different kind of genres and music and dances. Samba is just one of them, and of course samba is one of our African roots. Yeah, samba is the one that made the world notice. Look at this. Who was these people? Let's talk about them. Yes, I also have a picture of her here. It's the same one there.
Okay.
Her name, yeah, Hilaria Batista. But Tia Ciata, Tia means aunt, and Ciata is more a nickname, how she became known. What is about behind her history? Tia Ciata, she was a lady from Salvador in the beginning. She moved to Rio de Janeiro when she was still a teenager. She was just like many, trying to find a better life, coming to the capital. And let's look up the year she was born and the year she died. 1854 she was born, over there. 1924. So she lived in that transition of slave and non-slavery, right?
Right.
The monarchy and the republic. So when she comes to Rio de Janeiro, she brings also her spirituality, her black spirituality. That lady was from the Candomblé. And if you forgot, Candomblé is the name of the religion, the black Afro-Indigenous religion here. Tia Ciata, she was a healer. She was a person with strong spirituality and acknowledgement.
Okay.
So we had one of the first presidents of our country, where they were militaries first, before giving the new elected and vote. So Venceslau Braz, the president here in the capital, he had a disease, one injury in one of his legs. That injury, the doctors didn't know anymore what could do for him. So what happens? His driver told him about a person, her. And then the president of Brazil goes to her. She treats him, healed the legs, days passed. She was totally healed. And now the president wants to pay her, to give her something. She don't ask her for money. She asks for a good house and a good job for her husband, black man. So the president gives both.
Wow.
Give a good and spacious house with backyard and a job. What was the job he gave to her husband? Being the chief of the police, which is powerful for that back at that time. Being black person, it was hard to have a job, more harder to have a good job.
Right.
So now that he had the house, and the owner of the house was a chief of the police, she could do the things that back on the time was forbidden by law. What? Being what she was, her culture, expressing the culture. So let me tell you, we talk about the capoeira. What is the capoeira? The martial art. The black martial art that was brought by Angolan people, and here we fought against all the things with that martial art. This was forbidden back on the time.
Okay.
Another thing, the religion, Candomblé, that black religion here was prohibited, forbidden. People could be arrested.
Okay.
So she could do that inside her house. Another thing, Samba, the dance, the rhythm, the music, the song, this was forbidden.
It was forbidden.
Yes. So until the decades of the 30s, we can say that being a black person, expressing your own culture, your own being self, anything could be treated as something legal.
Wow.
And knowing that, her house became a safe space, not just for herself, but for her community. So she gonna invite others, make some parties, make not just party itself, but a moment for the spirituality too. So I can say that everything that was black was forbidden, and everything that was black forbidden was she done.
Wow.
So, but remember
she
that
had a huge influence.
She had a huge influence.
Yeah.
And she became more known because of that. Because people could express themselves in that house of hers. So her house, that was that safe space, became also the place where this Samba rhythm became, and will start being more and more.
Throughout the day, we explored Rio's culture, history, and African roots. But no journey through Rio could be complete without experiencing the rhythm that helped define the city. As night fell, we headed out for an evening of live samba, where the music, the energy, and the spirit of Rio came alive. From Christ the Redeemer to Little Africa, from forgotten burial grounds to the rhythms of Samba, Rio de Janeiro revealed a side of Brazil that many visitors never get to see. A story shaped by struggle, resilience, faith, culture, and enduring influence of Africa. But our journey to Rio is far from over. In our next episode, we'll continue exploring the people, places, and stories that make this city one of the most fascinating destinations in the world. Until next time, I am PA, and this is the Unfiltered World. Thanks for watching.